Hello, my name is Michael Dwyer, and I'm with Rochester Writers. Once again, Rochester Writers and the Rochester Hills Public Library have teamed up to host the annual Rochester Author Fair, now in its 5th year. We're hosting 20 authors in person at the library in downtown Rochester on Saturday, November 25th from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. These short videos offer you a chance to meet each of the 20 authors. And right now we're meeting J. Lee Burke. Hey, J. Lee, how are you?
Fine, Michael. I want to thank you and the Rochester Hill Writers and the Public Library for having me to the Author Fair this year. The 5th annual, by the way, right?
Yeah, 5 years in a row. We got started in 2019 with a great showing. Of course, we know what happened in 2020, so we went virtual, and we got back into it the following year, and we've been growing ever since. So thank you for being a part of it this year. Tell us a little bit about J. Lee Burke, and I know you've got 2 books out there.
Okay, well, I started writing when I was very young, and I was mentored by Elmore Leonard with the book Blackrock Island for about 8 years. He was a friend of the family, and I decided that it was time to write a novel. And so I came out with Blackrock Island, and it was a great ride. And if you'd like me to tell you about it, I will.
Yeah, is it a real place, and is it somewhere we could visit?
Of course, it's in the northwestern part of Ireland, and there is an island called Blackrock. The only way you can get there is by helicopter or boat. And when I was there doing the research, the one man that had the helicopter couldn't take me, and it was so rough I couldn't get there by boat. So I went to Blacksod Island, where the beacon goes out it went out from Ted Sweeney to notify Eisenhower to delay the D-Day invasion. And so I thought, this is a great historical site. I'll use this as part of the book and talk about going to Blackrock Island. It's remote and it's high up, and there's a beautiful lighthouse that is still working. But my story takes place here in Michigan. And my Lane Sullivan, who's my undercover operative for Novus, which is sanctioned by the US government, is asked to go on a mission in Ireland to investigate money laundering and drugs on the horse racing track. But the reason it starts in Michigan is because she has a sailboat at the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club, and her husband takes out the boat, sails across to the South Channel, and disappears. She finds the boat along with the Coast Guard, Border Patrol, etc. It's racked up on the Canadian shores, and they never find the body, and they never see him again. So a year later, her boss, Max, from Novus, calls up and said, you've been out of it for a year. We need you in this mission in Ireland, and we want you to go as an interior designer to investigate Miles Burke, a wealthy racehorse owner and breeder who needs to be investigated to see what the atrocities are for milkshaking and the deaths of these horses in Ireland. And she takes on the mission. And when she gets there, there's kind of a romantic involvement with her because he appears to be a nice guy, but she has to stay in character and investigate him. And she discovers that the big boys in the horse racing business are also involved on the racetrack. And the connection to the racing and the breeding turns out that the syndicate in Ireland, France, and Saudi Arabia are surrounded by murder, money laundering, and drugs. And so it complicates her investigation. And what she's finding is that some of these horses are, these people are behind the milkshaking, and the horses are dying on the racetrack for profit. So when she embarks on this investigation to go to Ireland, she all of a sudden thinks she sees her dead husband alive. And so now she kind of questions her sanity about what happened to him. And the plot unfolds when she lands on Blackrock Island in Miles Burke's helicopter, and she's going in to design a party room in his lighthouse tower, but when in fact she's investigating him.
Well, it sounds extremely fascinating. It sounds like you've woven in all of the elements that make for a suspenseful thriller and I think people will be extremely thrilled, no pun intended, to read it.
Well, thank you.
It sounds great. And so we just quickly have time to mention the other book that you have. Can I Tell You Something? You're one of the co-authors of that. You'll have that there as well. Briefly, just show it to everybody or point it out. I think it's right there over your shoulder.
Right behind me, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
My 5-year-old granddaughter said, Gaga, I want to write a book with you. And so 3 years later, we finished the book because COVID hit and Simon & Schuster, Archway Publishing, took too long. And so for every year that the book was delayed, my granddaughter grew older, and then her sister and her cousin decided to jump in. So there's actually 3 authors, and they were published a few months ago. And she's now 9, and the 2 little girls are 6. And there's 5 short stories, and there's How to Make a Valentine. And they're the best stories of fantasy and magical adventures. There is Mischievous Leprechaun Patty. I'm the editor. Mischievous Leprechaun Patty and his friend Leaf, who doesn't talk for a while. And he charges them with different kind of challenges. He wants them to see if they can catch him. And instead, he gives them magic tricks to derail them to go to Chicken Annie's farm, where it's a raucous hen house, and all sorts of sharing and caring and friendship take place there. And they keep trying to catch him. And then he takes them to Ireland to the St. Patrick's Day parade. They have to stop the parade because he's just causing too much trouble. There's green popcorn blowing up all over the place, and nobody can walk. And so they find that they have to do something. And in come the winged goats. Those are friends of Patty the leprechaun. And then the girls, I won't tell you the ending, but then the girls decided, well, we need Foxy, a talking fox. And so in the next story, they have a fox that's in the hen house, and he visits Chicken Annie's farm, and you'll have to read what happens from there. And then there's another story that takes place with Whitey and Kitey and Santa at the North Pole. And they are very curious elves, and they get in a lot of trouble with Santa Claus. And the girls have to set about straightening things out and learning about Whitey and Kitey. And last but not least, the children who like characters that are like themselves will like these stories because there's songs that they can sing. There's Valentine's, How to Make a Valentine at the end of the book. And there's exciting adventures for these children to learn about Ireland, learn about different places like the North Pole. And they can be educated through these adventures. It's fast moving, it's hilarious. And I highly recommend that you read this children's book because I'm just their editor. And they sold 11 books in less than 90 minutes 2 weeks ago at a book fair.
Well, it sounds really exciting. We've got the 2 books, the Blackrock Island, the suspense thriller, which is kind of deep reading, I imagine. And then we've got the lighter version of Can I Tell You Something with author J. Lee Burke. And friends, I guess on that last one, we can say we look forward to meeting you and seeing your books at the 5th Annual Rochester Author Fair on November 25th. We'll see you there.